Welcome to TruthStream. Tonight, we got HealthStream with Lance Schuttler, whom we met at the Truth Tour down in Anaheim. Lance, we're very excited to have you on the show, and we'll go over where we can find people can find you, and they can find us and stuff all at the end. But I just wanted to say it's great to have you, and thanks for sending us some of the products that we now get to try out. So take it from here. Let's start a little bit about what your Truth Tour experience was. And well, we know some of it because we met you there, but go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Thanks, Scott. I appreciate you guys having me on. I have been working with Lewis for a little bit of time now, almost a year. And, it was really exciting hearing Lewis talk about what he wanted to do with this and with the Truth Tour 1, the first one. And, I went to the LA event or the Las Vegas event, and then also one over in Tampa. And, it was a good experience. And then when he said he was having a second one, I know everyone was really excited for that, in particular, because he was going to go to places that, were quote unquote forbidden, so to speak, So I really love that. And just everything that Lewis has been doing, I've really appreciated. I know where he's coming from, and I really like his balance and his perspective on things, being able to give people voices and let many people talk so that we can get a good rounded perspective. So, I definitely wanted to go out there for the main event as well. And obviously met you guys there. We had a great time, lots of laughs. Just wanted to be part of that, because this is what I've been working towards as well, is helping to spread the truth on a lot of different things, and certainly tying it into health and wellness as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, we just wanted to interject. Thank you, by the way, for being a sponsor of the Truth Tour. And isn't Lewis just such a great guy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Individual. And I like how there's a lot of different positions presented, and a lot of them conflict, but that's how you arrive at the truth, is through discernment. And I just like the flow, that was presented at the Truth Tour for that reason. So.
Yeah, definitely. It was a good event just because of the sheer number of people there speaking, and of course the people that were there, watching and listening. Because exactly, like, we have to get new perspectives and not just the same people saying the same things. Like, we need a lot of different perspectives, and that's the cool thing of, you can meet people in person and really connect with their energy, and also, just learn more and discern, because, certainly everything that every person said, not all of us agree with. And that's good, because we should be coming to our own conclusions on what we feel is truth.
Right. And I think, a big thing that we realize is we have a group of amazing people that we met in person to team up with, to share ideas with, to interview, to have them on our show, and we can be on their show. And it's just, and the more, this is why a big reason that Scott and our focus is on guests and the conversation, because if people are just hearing things from us, well, that can be a little bit, I don't know what you call that.
It's an echo chamber.
Yeah, it's an echo chamber. But if we bring more and more, amazing guests on that have intel or products, or, can share with the folks their history and their background, and then let people know, what's going on in the world, they can see it from a lot of different perspectives and from educated people in a variety of fields. And so that's why it's wonderful to have you on. Can you tell the viewer how many of the stops did you go on, whether it's Truth Tour 1 or Truth Tour 2, and then maybe a little bit about what you gained over the different stops that you went on each time?
So I was at 4 of them total, 2 on the first one, and then 2 at the second one as well.
Okay.
And, just again, overall, like, what I learned is seeing how well we all really work together, and meaning, like, everyone who is there as speakers, but also those listening. There's just so much love and camaraderie there that is very apparent. And, like, that's, I think, the biggest thing. I was asked, what was the best part of this whole event? And I said, like, meeting the people that I have been working with in person, but then also meeting new people who I haven't been working with and I haven't known. And it really was like, that's the culmination. That was the highlight. You know, I was asked, what's the highlight of it? And that was, both of it was like the best part of it and the highlight, meeting people in person that I have known and haven't known, like you guys as well, because that's what we're there to do, is make the connections with people, because we're ultimately where all this has stemmed from. This whole situation we've been in for these past 2 years in particular is we've been isolated from each other, and now we're coming back together and forming physical bonds, emotional bonds, and, you know, really working together to push the truth forward and make sure that, you know, we have a tomorrow to live for.
So many hugs. I mean, it was an unbelievable, especially after, you know, all of this distancing that you know, some of us have been affected by. I wasn't so much, but and so the economy associated with the conversations, everybody was kind of familiar with the material more or less, and it just made for really deep, connected conversations almost instantly with almost anyone there. It was really kind of a phenomena that way.
Yeah, totally.
I was going to say, you could speak freely and people just got it. Like you didn't have to start at square one and start educating people on it. Like, it's like, we can just talk.
Yeah, exactly. It's so nice. You can just get straight into the conversations. You don't have to feel like you have to defend yourself, or, you know, why is Orange Man not bad? Like, you guys, you know, we're way past that now.
Yeah. Anything you wanted to say before we go into the next part, which is what's happening tomorrow with the elections?
Yeah, unless there was any particular experience on the Truth Tour that you wanted to share.
No, I mean, I think that was great. We all had some great conversations that night at dinner, but we'll leave that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, you great topics.
Yeah.
just great laughs, all in good fun.
Okay, so now let's and agreed. And now let's move into so you're in Florida. We don't have to say exactly where, but now the election is tomorrow because today is November 7th. We were talking a little bit before about how we kind of, you know, see this playing out in the, you know, over with the election, et cetera, and then maybe in the days after. But do you want to give the viewers a little insight into maybe how you see things playing out? Because we kind of want to record this to just see if we're close to the mark. So please feel free.
Yeah. So you guys, I think that there's going to be some sort of showing of a red wave, because I think it'll be important for the will of the people to be shown, at least, you know, mostly, if not entirely. And I think it's also possible at the same time, there might be certain states or certain counties or certain places that, you know, there might be attempted fraud, or there's, in particular, you know, I know that I think is the National Guard is looking at cybersecurity, or different cybersecurity teams are looking at different portions of this. So I think that what we might see is a real legitimate election for the most part, and then, you know, possibly some fraud and some cheating that goes not only to this election, but then maybe the same computers, the same spots possibly that happened in 2020 where there were you know, obvious fraud and cheating going on, because then it would be easy to go and tie it to, all right, it's happened now, 2022. And by the way, these were the same machines, same computers, same programs, also used at the same spot in 2020. Do we need to look at it closer? You know, who knows? I think something along those lines is realistic. I think we might be in some spots seeing, you know, we won't know the results for a handful of days, because I think there might need to be still some of that brought in to kind of refresh people of, all right, this is what they did last time, the same thing. We need more time to count. Well, why? All right. And then I think it might tie into the cheating and the fraud.
Yeah.
We'll see. But I mean, I think it's possible we'll see a combination of all of it. And I mean, maybe it's something completely different.
Sure. And I'm going to put Scott on the spot here. Scott, what are your thoughts as to what might happen over the next?
Well, I was distracted. Our producer decided to join us on camera. So yeah, it happens from time to time. This is Lily, by the way. Thanks
Hey,
for all
Lily.
you do. She does
Our
a lot
producer,
around
I like that. That takes a
Yeah.
lot of pressure off.
here. Our other producer.
Go ahead.
We wear a lot of hats with this kind of thing. So no, I think that's pretty astute. We were all privy to some comments at a breakfast with 107 about the possibility of the elections being suspended. That clearly hasn't happened yet, and I doubt it will happen in the 11th hour. I think you're right on. This is an opportunity to see in real time how the steal happens, and that will give a lot of legs to the argument about 2020. I think purely speculative here, but I think that there may have been a ruling already by the Supreme Court to vitiate the election, given the fraud that was present. If any fraud is present, according to the law, the entire election must be vitiated, just thrown out. There's an abundant evidence to prove fraud, at the state level, at every level. So, unless the Supreme Court is completely corrupt, then that would be the decision that they would be obligated to arrive at, given the evidence we've all seen. I think that the Roe v. Wade leak may have been cover for a much more inflammatory decision that I think has already been made. But that's, again, purely speculative. I don't have any real evidence to back that up.
Okay.
So we'll see where this goes. But I think this is kind of the show for the people, and we get to see how the cheating works in real time. Maybe Fox will even mention it, like they failed to mention 2,000 Mules at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we could see, if there is backlash with, some of the with Antifa or whatever, we might see military or National Guard, keeping the streets safe. We don't know yet, because I've heard that that's part of the rollout. So I'm right there between you guys. But hey, Scott has a little bit more.
To that point, I think this is not widely understood. But Derek Johnson made it abundantly clear that the National Guard was federalized by Trump when he held office, and that condition has not changed. And that's a really big deal that is just not being discussed in polite company, I suppose. But there are, I think, 15 cities that have been identified as particularly problematic with regard to scripted violence or non-scripted violence that we might see in the coming days, tomorrow specifically.
Right.
And that might be a great way to reveal the Antifa role. We see a lot of numbnuts with green hair and, just bad hygiene and so on, and really bad ideas that are living in their mom's basement. And that's how people have come to know Antifa. But, I have a good friend that's researched and known Antifa people for a long time, and there is part of Antifa that's really quite organized and militarized, and it is a threat, one that we haven't really seen. They got a little bit of that over in Europe, when we saw all the craziness happening. They meant business, and they were very organized. We may see that rolling out tomorrow, and of course pallets of bricks just showing up.
Yeah, right. Of course.
Randomly.
Yeah.
Spontaneous
randomly.
projects are going to start the day after the election, I think.
Just for fun.
Yeah. Well,
Just for fun.
Gotta spend that Soros money, right?
That's right. Well, I think we're all pretty much in agreement on that. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And now let's go into a little bit of your background, your history, your company, how it started and where it is, and maybe where it's going. So please feel free to take it away from there.
Yeah, definitely, you guys. So how I kind of started learning about the truth of all this stuff, even the politics, was through health. And it began, I was actually taking a class, and it was an anatomy and physiology class. and it was just a basic online class in college. And each week was dedicated to a different section in the body, nothing complicated, just very straightforward. But then week 8, I noticed in the syllabus, when the class had started that week 8 was called Inventing the AIDS Virus ? And so I didn't really know anything up until that point. And once we got to week 8, we started learning about this book that was written called Inventing the AIDS Virus by Dr. Peter Duesberg at USC. And him and his team, essentially put forth information contradicting a lot of information about HIV, AIDS, so forth. And so I started questioning a lot myself. So I read the whole book. The professor at the time, he was fantastic, because nothing that he said pushed any sort of agenda. He just simply had us ask questions, kind of think about and write about some of the things he was asking. So it helped me to begin how to learn how to think and question in terms of health and information, because I quickly saw that, all right, I have a choice. I can either continue down this rabbit hole, and I had read the whole book at that point. It's like a 400-page, 500-page, very thick, dense book, and had my mind blown, and realized, all right, I can keep going down this rabbit hole, or I can just kind of pretend that everything that I just read and learned isn't really happening. And, the medical system has our best interest, and, everything's just working smoothly. There's some basic corruption that we know about, but it's not as bad as, full on trying to push, very serious agendas. But I realized that I needed to keep going and keep looking and digging. And so I just kept digging. It didn't happen right away after that, where everything started to really avalanche for me, but it was probably still several months later that I just kept nagging at me that, all right, all this stuff, I know there's more to it. None of it's really adding up. A lot of it's BS. And so I just kept digging and started learning about all the stuff as it relates to politics, the New World Order, and just everything that's been going on, of how we've been trying to be forced into slavery in every single way. So my pushback has been learning about all that and trying to help spread truth about all this stuff, politics, money, just different things like that, but also with the health and wellness, because we know those groups have wanted us to stay sick and stay low vibration, low energy, stay fighting with each other. But if we can raise our vibration and raise our energy and raise our health, we're raising our consciousness, and then we don't have to participate in their games, and we just create something new.
In that anatomy class, I'm just curious, did they ever attempt to define what a woman is, or is that more theoretical anatomy?
I knew
at that time,
I had to. Yeah,
at that time, we weren't in this woke agenda BS. So certainly a woman was a woman, a man was a man.
Right.
Wow.
Well, what year was this? I mean, not to date you, but just to kind of get a gauge on, how long it's been since your initial, aha moments.
Yeah. That summer was 2010.
Okay.
And really, it was about 2011 when everything started to really open up, and I started to connect a lot of dots.
So for 10, 11 years, you've been just like really, dialing in what the heck's going on, connecting dots. And in this, obviously you're so focused on it that you've created this company and these amazing products. And tell us how maybe the products that you've created, how they're helping people, or however you want to go into that. Please go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. So, I graduated from Iowa with a degree in health science. And then after that, I started working in the supplement industry. and I was able to work on a few different sides of it, in particular sourcing and marketing in various ways. And a couple of the big issues that I could see within the industry as a whole is there's a lot of manipulative marketing, and also some marketing that's not manipulative, but that's just isn't, it's just not true. It's just not like, you can word things that are more accurate and more truthful to people and not give people such radical hope. And I mean, I'm I'm an eternal optimist, so I want to give people hope, but I also don't want to mislead people when, you know, something is not going to do something when it said, you know, it's going to help you with XYZ. Because some things, yes, there's certain nutrients that have been known to do certain things, but if you take it in a minute amount, you know, it's not going to have those sort of, let's say, you know, anti-diabetic effects, as an example. Like, you have to take certain dosages, make sure it's, you know, other things are being incorporated. So understanding how to use marketing the right way and not lie to people and just be truthful. And also then sourcing things the right way in terms of how to source the cleanest and the purest possible. So as an example, the coffee that we have, it's organically grown down in Guatemala. And then we also third-party test to show that it's free of mold and mycotoxins. And this is a huge industry topic in the industry that very few people know about, is the mold and mycotoxins. So, you know, the first part with coffee is the pesticides. You know, literally 97% of coffee beans, you guys, sprayed with pesticides, 97%. Wow. 3% organic, that's great. But there's 42 different toxic pesticides that are listed that can be used on coffee, and certainly even more probably are. But these are known endocrine disruptors. Some are carcinogenic. Some are very neurotoxic, you know, a whole host of issues. So that's the first point of this coffee, is we want to raise awareness on pesticides and why we don't need them and why we don't want to be using them. Then the second issue is the mold and mycotoxins, that these molds produce mycotoxins that really impact the brain and nervous system in particular, but also the P53 gene for us. And this relates to a lot of different things, but they call this the guardian of the genome, this P53. And this relates to glyphosate, so Monsanto, all of it, you know, it's all connected. But the mold and mycotoxins, so few people know about it, yet it's still present in up to 50 to 70% of coffee that's been tested. There's a couple studies that I'm referencing. 50 to 70% also had mold and mycotoxins. So smaller amounts for sure, but still in there. And so what we want to do is offer a coffee that we could say is literally amongst the cleanest in the world. And we can authentically and truthfully say that. You know, it's, again, like, I want to make the marketing statements, make these big, bold statements, but really be able to back it up. And that's what we have done and can do. So the coffee, like the taste of it, you know, it's way different, tastes amazing. And then we've just applied that same principle to several of these other products as well.
Wow. You know, I've got some questions about the coffee. Coffee is kind of a religion here in the Northwest, and you know, it's a big ceremony and a big part of my day. I've known about the molds and the toxins for some time, and I've been, you know, strictly organic for years. But as I understand it, organic doesn't necessarily mean mold free or you know, free of these toxins. How do you know what you're getting? I mean, obviously, you know, if you're buying Ascent coffee, but other than that, I mean, how much of the organic coffee out there contains these molds, you know, in your estimation?
I'd say a great majority of them. It really, I don't want to put a number because I honestly don't know, but I'd say a great majority. And then what we do to, you know, back our statement is we test it specifically for the 12 major ones, and we show, you know, the presence of it or non-presence. And, you know, we actually show that COA on our website. And that's another thing. We want to show the people the truth, of what's in here and what's not, and just give them the COA. And like, if you would look at this, there's probably not many other coffee companies, first, that are even running that test. Like, most aren't. Secondly, they probably wouldn't want to post the results because it wouldn't be favorable. So that's how confident we are in what we're doing. And again, like, just give people the information, they can make the choices themselves. And it's just right there for people to look at.
So does the mold occur after the roasting process, or
So yeah, before, and then there is conflicting information out there, like the roasting will kill the mold. And that is true in some cases for sure, but also some is left too. So, it varies, of course, batch to batch, the roasting, the time, the heat, all of it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great questions. Anything else you want to talk about on coffee? And then do you have a decaf option for people as well?
No decaf, unfortunately.
Not
No
yet.
decaf.
Well, I
Yeah.
know. I just thought some people might be interested.
Yeah, no, definitely. We have some people asking, but none right now. It's not in the plans at the moment, but possibly.
Okay, no worries. Anything else you want to go on coffee before we segue into any other of the other products?
Yeah, no, I think that's good for the coffee.
Okay. Oh, well, let's go into any of the other products that you'd like to share.
Yeah, so the pine needle extract. So you guys remember a year and a half ago, a lot of the audience that's listening to this, they know too. There's multiple scientists that started talking about pine needles and pine needle tea back in the spring of last year. And the reason they were doing that is because of a compound called shikimic acid. And this naturally occurs within certain species of pine, white pine in particular. And the shikimic acid, there's a lot that I wish I could say in particular of what this does, but it's known that shikimic acid is actually the main constituent that makes up Tamiflu. So shikimic acid has certain biological properties that are known, namely supporting respiratory, immune, and lung function, and detoxification, cardiovascular health as well. I mean, I know it's a lot, but it really does impact all those different systems. But the pine needles, it's cleansing the blood, supporting healthy detox, and the respiratory and immune that the indigenous have used for so long, using those needles to make tea. There's vitamin C that naturally occurs within it as well. So the indigenous humans have used this for so long that it's known, but this information came back out last year in relation to this whole global situation that we've been facing. And so what we wanted to do is offer a product that tied into that information and get it out there. And so that's what we did. We wild harvest them up in Canada with friends and business partners of mine. So it's really amazing. Like, I know who is literally hand harvesting this. Nice. With their love and sweat. And then we take it to a nearby processing facility and we make the tincture of it. And instead of holding it in alcohol to preserve it, we hold it in organic vegetable glycerin to give it a sweeter taste, but also just to keep the vibration of it as high as possible. It's very different. We know the effects that this has for people who've, put things in their body or who haven't put things in their body, if you know what I mean. And these detoxification effects can be very beneficial. And, we know what the pine needles are doing. So we wanted to get it out there to as many people as possible. And we kept the price on it as low as we could. We actually intentionally are making significantly less than we could make on it. And I bring that up because it's an important part of the story, not to try to put us as, saviors for lowering the price, but it was a serious part of this whole process to make this happen, because we could have gouged on the price and, set it high or even at market rate, but it would make a 1 ounce tincture, which is almost unrealistic for people to continue to use. And again, the whole point is to get this in as many people's hands as possible because of what it does, and because of why it's important right now in the world. And so we kept the price on it as low as we could. to just be able to have it out there to as many people as possible. So we have it at $33.99. We could have easily done 60 or 90 even, but it wouldn't have made, that's not the point. The point is to get it out to as many as possible to feel the effects and have the effects, because what's happening is needed right now.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you for
Yeah.
doing that for humanity. Go ahead.
Well, I was remembering as a kid, I took a couple of different survival classes, and we always made pine needle tea, and
Wow.
I remember crawling up underneath, these big low hanging branches, and doing a little Dakota fire hole, and brewing up the pine needle tea, and they said it'll keep you from getting sick. This was, well, I'm dating myself. It was a long time ago.
That's awesome, Scott. That's so cool. And that's perfectly said, because you're taught that in Boy Scouts, and they learned it from the indigenous who've been doing it for hundreds or thousands of years,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
history you don't want to erase.
Yeah, exactly.
So how many because I think we got bottles of it, and so do you take a certain amount of drops, and how often do you take it, just to give us some insight, because we're learning from you right now, actually.
Yeah. So 1 ml is typically a good dose. So it fills up we've got the graduated dropper on there, so it fills up to about 1 ml. That's one serving. That's good just for, common everyday use. If you're around people who aren't well, or if you know that, just things like that, you want to protect yourself a little bit more, take a few more. If you need to use it in situations where you're really not feeling well, then you can definitely take even more, like 3 or 4 servings.
Okay.
It's a good strong dose because it's an extract, but it's not too strong to where like you need to be careful with it.
Now, is this like a maintenance type immune builder, or is this like when you're starting to feel the effects, or
Both.
expose? Okay, both. Good to know.
Yeah, definitely. And on the lower end, just for common everyday use, if you're around people, or if you're starting to feel something yourself, definitely 3 or 4.
Okay.
Good to know.
Good.
It's the season. So
Yeah, it is the season.
That's great.
Yeah, exactly.
Right on. Do you want to go into a couple of the other products?
The DHEA, I'm really
please.
curious about it.
DHA or DHEA? It's DHA.
DHA, yes. And
DHA.
so,
Yeah.
yes. So, and we have another product called pine pollen. I won't go fully into that, but the pine pollen also comes from the pine trees, and pine pollen is nature's highest source of DHEA.
Oh,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, incredible. So DHEA we have in the pine pollen, and then DHA from the algae oil. And that is, again, along these same lines of just trying to source it pure and clean. So people obviously have heard about fish oil and omega-3s, and just the common benefits are brain health, cardiovascular, pain, inflammation, things like that. There's way more to it that I'll kind of go into on the neurogenic aspects in the brain, but just for like sourcing purposes, we think about these omega-3s and we automatically equate them to fish or fish oil. All right, I need to get my salmon or the oysters, and all that's true. That's factually correct. And why it is because the fish actually consume algae in the oceans or the waters, and they will incorporate these different fatty acids, the omega-3s, into their cellular structures. And then we as humans consume the fish, and we get those fatty acids from the fish. So the fish is actually the secondhand source in the food chain. So what we've done is we're going to the source of it, which is the algae.
Nice.
And so then we water extract the algae. We don't need to do any of the processing in the fish oil industry. There's a lot of waste involved, because you have to go to the secondhand source to get it. So we just do it very simple and clean with water-based extraction. We get it in its pure original form. There's about 24 fatty acids in there, most concentrated with DHA, and a little EPA as well. And so we have this product that is enhancing the brain abundantly, because DHA is in every cellular membrane, but most abundantly in neurons. Okay. Neurons in the brain and nervous system, also concentrated in the retina of the eyes. Okay. So this is where all this stuff gets crazy, you guys. So DHA is concentrated in the rods and the cones of the eyes, and its role in those locations is literally to split light. Okay, so what it's doing is it's taking the photonic energy from the sun, the photons, it hits the retina, the rods and the cones, and DHA literally is a converter. It takes the light energy, converts it from light energy into an electrical signal, which then is relayed to the brain, and then we have this visual process that we see right now. So literally DHA is one of the main components responsible for how we can even see each other right now, but also hear, think, listen, read. There's a study published back in 2012 called a quantum theory for the irreplaceable role of DHA in biological evolution, something like that. And it was written by this nutritional neuroscientist. He leads human clinical nutrition department somewhere in Oxford, I believe, in London. Michael Crawford is his name. But this study that he published, you guys, he basically put the argument forth that DHA has been more important than DNA itself in terms of how evolution has happened. And I'm not talking like Darwinian evolution, because I don't really believe in that per se. I mean, we know evolution happens, but there's more to it than the Darwinian story. Right. But just from that perspective, how evolution happens. And he has a great point, like many great points. But the big thing is that its structure and function, DHA, hasn't changed in millions or billions of years, whatever the truth is, whatever the real number is. That it served its role so functionally optimized that it has not needed to evolve or change. Its role is to literally facilitate light within biological organisms and convey information and convert light to energy and electricity. And, it's correlated then clearly, like on human studies, to better mental cognition. IQ can go up. Children's brains develop much healthier when the mother's getting enough, when she's pregnant, after the baby's born, if they're getting enough, things like that. So, there's a lot of different compounds out there that are great for the brain. And in my opinion, this is the number one thing, because it is something that not just like an herb that it's great to get every now and then, but this is an actual structural component that we need to get in the body and the brain. Like, we need to get these fatty acids. So when we give our cells the actual building blocks for them, the cells can work better and work the way that they should. So there's so much more out there on what DHA does and these fatty acids do, but like the brain, cognition, memory, eyesight, cardiovascular health, anything you can look up for fish and fish oil studies directly relate, because, these are the omegas.
Well, that's the best descriptor I've ever heard of DHA. Thank you.
Well, it's exciting to me, but just because, to step into what some may consider the woo side of things,
right.
With the available light, and that light carries with it information, and that information may very well be activating dormant DNA, or what science has called junk DNA. That's a big conversation in and of itself, but it sounds like this is a key component to assimilating that light and that light energy. And,
yes.
And from that standpoint, holy cow, I'd talk about supercharging yourself for the company is called Ascent, so I suppose.
Yes, exactly, you guys. And I knew that you guys would understand that and follow on it completely too, because it's so exciting that I love talking about the science of it, but my role and my job and my purpose on this planet, part of it is to help bridge the scientific with the spiritual, because they are connected and they are one and the same, and there's just different language to express both of them. And that aspect excites me the most, in particular with this DHA. And, you know, we're working with some really cool people on this in terms of scientists who have done some awesome things. And, you know, there's one in particular who I was talking with him. This was after like several hours, not in one sitting, but over multiple calls, talking about this stuff and like, you know, getting good perspective from him on what he's done. And, you know, he knows about the spiritual aspects of all this stuff too, but we had gone there a little bit, but just not fully. And, you know, I asked him, I said, like point blank, I was like, so, you know, with everything that we talked about, like, do you genuinely, really, truly feel that this has the ability to raise human consciousness? And he said, dead serious, yes. And, you know, I won't say this guy's name, but he is top in what he's doing for neuroscience and fatty acids. And he totally sees what's going on with this, which is just amazing. And, you know, I wanted to ask him that after having many conversations about the deep, hard sciences. So there was no bias of like, you know, trying to get this and like push it forward as my thought first. I wanted to just really let him, you know, discuss all these things and hear his perspective. And then I would ask him, and he said, absolutely. And I believe it too. Totally.
What a great way to do it, so it comes up organically. Because every time Scott and I take things on, I'm like, okay, it's got to be organic. It has to percolate to us. And
those vernacular.
Well, I don't
certain key components.
Yeah.
Those
well, it's so much
main staples for
so much better when things happen that way, even if it takes longer. It's just I resonate with it. So
yeah, definitely.
It really is about the assimilation of light and the information contained within that light.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, there's been a lot of discussion of the amount of information that can be stored on a single strand of DNA, and it's rather shocking just how much information. And to think that what is it, 98%, 96% of our DNA is considered junk DNA because they don't know what it does. You have to wonder what might activate that DNA, or what's missing to give that DNA function. And, you know, in certain circles, it's pretty widely agreed upon that it's light and the information therein. So what an exciting supplement, you know?
Yeah, truly. And, you know, Brad Wozni, who was there, and I know you guys know him clearly, he had a great name for this. So this is, you know, credit and props to him. He said, because we were talking about this, and he's like, so basically, this is like God's serum for the soul. I was like, yeah, exactly. It literally is. So
that sounds like Brad.
Props to Brad on that name. And that's, I mean, truly, like, that's really what I believe is doing. It's, of course, having the physical benefits, but it's activating something deeper within. And we have so many people giving testimonies like that, and like people who are into this, you know, sort of spiritual realm, so you could see where their perspective could be, or like where they might just be saying things. But there's also people coming who are not on this sort of wavelength of things, but they're saying some huge changes are happening in their life, cognitively specifically. So I believe that it's helping with the upgrade of all of us, and the pets can use it too. You know, pets need the omegas as well. Yeah, so it's amazing, and I'm so happy that we have it and to be able to get it out there.
Well, I'm curious with those testimonials. One of the gauges I think that a lot of us have been looking at in terms of, you know, where we're at in this whole idea of an ascension, kind of a very quick ascension, which kills the Darwin argument that you mentioned earlier, which is fine because that guy was a eugenicist and we don't really...
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm just wondering, so a lot of the clairs were coming online for people, you know, clairvoyance, clairaudience, and so on and so forth. People just started to have these experiences, and then they became more pronounced and more pronounced. You might have encountered this in some of the conversations you've been having. I know I've certainly experienced it from time to time. Yeah. Did you hear any of that with those testimonials?
Yeah. So I have a friend who, she does tarot cards, and she also does some channeling. And I'm very particular with, you know, the channeling aspect. I know it's real. We all know it's real, but I also think that there's a lot of people who are just, you can tell yourself something and really make yourself believe it. You know what I mean? And again, like, it's not for me to judge who's doing that or not. It doesn't matter. But I think there's a fine line of like, okay, is someone actually channeling someone or something from something else, or is there not? But this particular friend, you know, she said that it's really helped her intuitively, also not just with like channeling, but with just certain things in her life of becoming more intuitive and like really tapping in on things, and certainly feeling just the physical benefits too. Certain people, we've got all the reviews on our website there. Some people list some of that stuff. Some people just write us in directly, but you know, specifically just abilities being heightened and the functioning of the brain increasing. And that's, I feel it, and I've been taking it for, you know, a few years because I've known about it for a while, but I'm still feeling the effects. I still feel that this stuff helps me, and I take it every day.
Wow. It's awesome. I'm excited to try it.
Yeah.
And I know we only have you for a little bit longer. Is there anything else you either want to go over, or do you want to go into how people find you, or whatever you need to go into?
Yeah. You know, the last thing is the hemp oil product that we have. So this, we grow it here in the US, in Iowa and Colorado. And the strain of hemp that we have, you guys, it's referenced by NCBI, PubMed, as the gold standard in hemp genome sequencing. And we've got the paper to back it. You know, it's, no one else has access to this strain. Obviously, it's something we worked on for many years, but it's incredible in what it does because we know what's in there, and we can tell based on how we infuse it or extract it. This is another differentiating aspect, that we don't use hexane or CO2. CO2 is much cleaner than hexane, but what we do is we actually use organic coconut oil, MCT, gently warm it, and we squeeze out all the different cannabinoids and all the different terpenes and nutrients. And it tastes different. It feels different. We have tested this against many of the competitors. I won't name names, but we've beat everyone that we've tested in terms of our phytocannabinoid content. Some it's by a lot, some it's by, you know, a little. But what we can say is the strain of hemp that we have is, you know, gold standard by reference by NCBI. It's the most unique infusion method or extraction method used in the hemp and CBD industry for like an ingestible, and, you know, grown organically as well, grown on really amazing land in Iowa and in Colorado.
So there's
all this. Yeah. Go ahead, Scott.
it's not a pressurized system or a vacuum system. It's
No.
a completely different system. Wow.
It's very gentle. It's a slower process.
No solvent. Well, I mean, coconut oil is a solvent, but yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so it leaves a cleaner tasting product too. So, you know, like with CBDs, it can be kind of drying, you know, like you put it in and kind of dries your mouth out. You can taste it with this. You can still taste that, but it's significantly less, significantly. And it just has a smoother taste to it. So again, pets can use that. Humans use it, and we're really happy with it. People get a lot of good results and feedback that they share with us.
Excellent.
Wow.
Yeah, Lily, who you just met, she was a hell of an athlete in her life, but she's in her golden years, and she's got a blown ACL, all kinds of things. So I'm always looking for something to make her life a little easier. That might be the thing.
Yeah, definitely. And the algae too can help with that inflammation and just pain in general, because that's like one of the big thing with the omegas is that because those omegas, like our cellular membranes, again, need the omega-3s in particular. And we need the 6s too. But when we're giving our bodies enough of those 3s, it's like cooling down the system in terms of inflammation. Every cell in the body, in general, the whole body, the inflammation state will go down, because it's just being saturated with those omega-3s, and that then turns on the expression of several different genes, humans and animals, of inflammation is not promoted, and anti-inflammatory compounds are created and promoted and circulated throughout the bloodstream. So, for pets, the hemp and the algae oil combination can actually be a really potent combination for that sort of, aches and pains and things like that.
Excellent.
Wow.
Yeah.
This has been really informative, and it's nice to be, really be one-on-one, because, there's a lot of commotion going on in an event. So it's really nice to sit down and hear everything that you're saying without any issues of, whether people are being loud, et cetera. So where can people find you before we let you go? Where can people find you and follow you, et cetera?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, guys. LanceSchuttler.com is my website. I'm on YouTube and Rumble, and also on Truth Social. Just started that up. And just more video content coming out on YouTube and Rumble specifically.
And then what about is the company under that as well, or?
Yeah. So Ascent Nutrition, goascentnutrition.com is the website. www.goascentnutrition.com.
Okay. Yeah. And we'll put all the links below as well. And go from there. Anything else you want to say to listeners before you head out?
No, I really appreciate this though, you guys. This has been a great conversation. Meeting you guys in person was truly a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah, just it's awesome. I appreciate being here.
Absolutely.
Well, I think I want to order some of the CBD product in combination with the other product, but maybe we can do a follow-up interview with Lily in 30 days or so and see how she's doing. Definitely.
That sounds great.
I'm going to do the same thing.
Yeah, I agree. Let's do that, you guys.
Cool.
Awesome. And we're trying a new ending. Actually, you're here for the first one, but we want to let people know where you can find us. I mean, Rumble is the best place. TruthStream with Joe and Scott. We're also on Truth Social under TruthStream. We're on Instagram under the TruthStream because the other way was taken. Is there anything else that you wanted to throw in? I mean, you can find us on BitChute and YouTube, but we primarily focus on Rumble just because it's, I just had a YouTube channel taken down. I run a site called, or a podcast in the Northwest called Reflection Pool, and my YouTube was actually taken down. So I don't really push the YouTube very much anymore. So anyway, anything else?
YouTube's a gateway to Rumble in many ways anyway, for this type of content anyway. But thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to the next time for sure.
All right.
Yeah, keep us updated.
Thank you, Joe.
On any new innovations, because it sounds like that's a regular thing over there.
That's right.
Definitely.
All right.
Take care, Lance.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Cheers.